Jake Martinez stared at the red blinking light on his command console. The distress signal came from deep space, far beyond the safe trade routes that most ships used. His fingers drummed against the metal surface as he listened to the message. For the third time. This is Dr. Elena Rodriguez from Kepler Research Station. We need help. The Shadow Hunters are here. They found us. If anyone receives this message, stay away. Do not come here. They are hunting us, and we cannot hide anymore. The message ended with the sound of screening and metal being torn apart. Then silence. Jake looked around the bridge of his ship. Pioneer. His crew was made up of beings from different worlds. Lisa Chun, his pilot, was human like him. Her steady hands could fly them through any asteroid field. Breakter, his weapons officer, came from a warrior planet called Corva. His blue skin was covered in old battle scars, and his 4 arms made him deadly in a fight. There were others too. Dr. Sam Foster studied alien life forms. Captain Amy Clark handled ship security. Navigator Ben Wright could plot a course through the most dangerous parts of space. They were a good crew, and Jake trusted them with his life. Commander, Lisa said from her pilot's seat, that signal came from the Kepler system. That's Vorthic territory. The bridge went quiet. Every being in the galaxy knew about the Vorthic. They were 12 feet tall monsters with black armor covering their bodies. Their claws could cut through any metal. They could walk through walls like ghosts. Worst of all, they hunted other thinking beings for sport. No one had ever survived. A direct fight with a Vorthic. They moved too fast and hit too hard. They appeared without warning and killed without mercy. Entire planets had been found empty, with only bones and blood left behind. The research station had 300 people, Dr. Foster said quietly. Scientists from 12 different worlds. They were studying peaceful things like plant life and weather patterns. Not anymore, Rector growled. His warrior instincts made him want to fight, but even he knew the Vorthic were different. The Shadow Hunters take the strong ones alive. The rest they kill for fun. Jake stood up and walked to the main view screen. Stars stretched out before them, cold and distant. Somewhere out there, people were dying. People who had sent out a call for help before it was too late. Commander, Lisa said carefully, Dr. Rodriguez told us to stay away. She knew what she was talking about. The Vorthic have never left survivors before. Maybe, Jake said. But maybe some people are still alive. Maybe they're hiding and waiting for rescue. Sir, Captain Clark spoke up. With respect, this could be a trap. The Vorthic are smart. They might be using the distress signal to bring more prey to them. Jake knew she was right. The Vorthic were not just killers. They were hunters who planned their attacks. They studied their prey before striking. They knew how different species thought and acted, but something about the message bothered him. Dr. Rodriguez had sounded truly afraid, not like someone reading a script. The screaming in the background had been real. The sound of metal being torn apart had been real too. How long to reach the Kepler system? Jake asked. 18 hours at top speed, Ben answered. But sir, our ship is not built for fighting. We have basic weapons, but nothing that could hurt a Vorthic. The Pioneer is an exploration vessel, Dr. Foster added. We study new worlds and make contact with peaceful species. We're not soldiers. Jake looked at each of his crew members. They were scared, and they had good reason to be. The Vorthic were death itself, moving through space and taking what they wanted. But they were also his friends, and he knew they would follow him anywhere. I've made my decision, Jake said. We're going to the Kepler system. If there are survivors, we'll find them. If it's a trap, we'll deal with it. Sir, Breakter said, if we do this, we need a plan. The Vorthic are not like other enemies. They don't think like we do. They hunt for the joy of killing. Then we'll have to be smarter than they are, Jake replied. Lisa, set course for Kepler 442b. Maximum speed. Yes, sir, Lisa said. Her fingers moved across the control panel, and the Pioneer's engines roared to life. The ship turned toward the distant star system, where death waited dot as they flew through. Space, Jake thought about his decision. He was leading his crew into danger that might kill them all. But he could not forget the fear in Dr. Rodriguez's voice. He could not ignore the screaming of innocent people. The Vorthik had ruled the galaxy through fear for thousands of years. Every species knew to run when they appeared. Every world trembled when their ships were spotted. But running and hiding had never saved anyone. Maybe it was time someone stood up to them. The Pioneer flew on through the darkness, carrying its crew toward their destiny. Behind them, the safe parts of space grew smaller and smaller. Ahead of them, the unknown waited. Jake. Martinez did not know that he was about to change the galaxy forever. He only knew that people needed help, and he could not turn away. 18 hours later, the Pioneer dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Kepler 442b. The view screen showed a scene that made Jake's stomach turn. The research station floated in space like a broken toy. Huge holes had been torn in its metal walls. Bodies drifted around the station, frozen in the cold of space. Life signs? Jake asked. Dr. Foster worked at his scanner. I'm reading some activity in the center of the station. Maybe 20 or 30 people still alive. They're in the main safe room. How long can they last? Jake asked. The safe room has its own air and power, but the readings show the systems are failing. Maybe 6 hours before they run out of air. Jake stared at the damaged station. The Vorthik had done this. They had torn through the metal walls like paper. They had killed hundreds of innocent people, and they might still be there, waiting. Any sign of Vorthik ships? He asked. No, Ben reported. But that doesn't mean they're gone. Vorthik ships can hide from our sensors. Commander, Lisa said, we should be careful. This looks like a typical Vorthik attack. They break in fast, kill. Most people, and take a few alive. The survivors might be bait. Jake nodded. The Vorthik were smart hunters. They knew other species would try to rescue survivors. They often left a few people alive to draw in more prey. But we can't just leave them, Captain Clark said. If there are people alive in there, they're counting on us. I agree, Jake said. But we need to be smart about this. Dr. Foster, what do you know about the station's layout? It's a standard research facility. Labs, living quarters, and the safe room in the center. The safe room is the strongest part of the station. If people are alive, that's where they would be. Can we dock with the station? The main docking bay is destroyed, Ben said. But there's an emergency airlock on the lower level. We can use that. Jake made his decision. Lisa, take us to the emergency airlock. Captain Clark, get your team ready. We're going in. Sir, Breakter said, I should come with you. If there are Vorthik in there, you'll need someone who can fight. No, Jake said. You stay here and watch the ship. If something happens to us, you get the Pioneer out of here and warn the galaxy about what you saw. The docking took 20 minutes. The Pioneer's hull scraped against the broken station as they connected to the emergency airlock. Jake suited up in his space armor and checked his weapons. His team did the same. Remember, Jake told them, stay together. Watch each other's backs. And if you see a Vorthik, don't try to be a hero. Just survive. They entered the station through the airlock. The hallways were dark and cold. Emergency lights cast red shadows on the walls. Bodies of different alien species lay scattered everywhere. Some had been killed by claws. Others had been crushed by incredible strength. This way to the safe room, Dr. Foster whispered, checking his scanner. They moved through the station carefully. Jake's heart pounded as they passed through the destruction. The Vorthik had been thorough. They had not just killed people. They had destroyed everything. Research equipment was smashed. Computer files were erased. It was like they wanted to wipe out all trace of the work being done here. Why would they do this? Captain Clark asked quietly. The Vorthik usually just kill and move on. This is different. Maybe they found something here, Jake said. Something that made them angry. They reached the safe room door. Jake could hear voices inside, scared voices speaking in different languages. He knocked on the door 3 times, then twice, then once. It was the standard rescue code. The door opened slowly. A human woman looked out. She was tall and thin, with dark hair and tired eyes. This was Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the scientist who had sent the distress call. "Thank God," she said. "I didn't think anyone would come." "We're here to help," Jake said. "How many survivors?" 26. "We lost so many." Her voice shook. "They came through the walls like ghosts. We couldn't stop them." Jake entered the safe room. The survivors were a mix of species. Humans, aliens with blue skin, others with fur or scales. They all looked scared and tired. Some were injured. "Dr. Rodriguez," Jake said, "we need to move fast. Our ship is small, but we can take everyone." "Are the Vorthik still here?" "I don't know," she said. "They took 12 people alive. Strong ones, mostly. They put them in some kind of pods and took them away. But some of them might still be here." "Took them where?" Jake asked. "To their ship. It's hidden somewhere in the system. They collect strong specimens from each species they attack. No one knows why." Jake felt a chill. The Vorthik were not just random killers. They had a purpose, a plan. They were collecting people like samples for some unknown reason. "We need to go," Captain Clark said. "Every minute we stay here makes it more dangerous." As if her words had called them, the lights went out. The room was plunged into darkness. Emergency power kicked in a few seconds later, but it was too late. They were no longer alone. 3 shapes moved through the far wall, like smoke becoming solid. They were massive, 12 feet tall, covered in black armor that seemed to absorb light. Their eyes glowed red in the darkness. Their claws extended with a sound like swords being drawn. The Vorthik had found them. The survivors screamed and pressed back against the walls. Jake's team raised their weapons, but everyone knew it was useless. No one had ever killed a Vorthik. With handheld weapons, the largest Vorthik stepped forward. When it spoke, its voice was like rocks grinding together. The universal translator made its words understandable. "Humans," it said, "we have heard whispers of your kind. You are new to the galaxy, new prey." Jake stepped in front of the survivors. His weapon was in his hand, but he knew it would not help him. Still, he would not go down without a fight. "Let them go," he said. "Take me instead." The Vorthik leader tilted its head. "Brave, but stupid. We will take who we choose. You cannot stop us." "Maybe not," Jake said, "but I can try." The Vorthik leader studied him with those glowing red eyes. "You interest us, human. Show us what makes your species special. Show us why you deserve to live." Jake gripped his weapon tighter. Around him, the survivors waited in terror. His team was ready to fight and die beside him. The most feared predators in the galaxy stood before them, and there was nowhere to run. But Jake Martinez was not ready to give up. Not yet. The Vorthik leader moved closer to Jake. Its massive form seemed to fill the room. The other 2 Vorthik spread out, blocking any escape route. Their red eyes glowed like hot coals in the dim light. "I am Scarthok," the leader said. "I have hunted across 1,000 worlds. I have killed beings from every corner of the galaxy. Your species is new to us, human. We wish to learn what makes you different. Jake kept his weapon raised, even though he knew it was useless. The Vorthic's black armor could stop any handheld weapon. Their speed was beyond what any normal being could match. But he would not show fear in front of the survivors. My name is Jake Martinez, he said, and I won't let you hurt these people. Scarthok made a sound that might have been laughter. You will not let us? Small human, you do not understand what we are. We are death itself. We are the shadow that ends all light. Behind Jake, the survivors huddled together. Dr. Rodriguez held a young alien child who was crying softly. The other humans in his team stood ready to fight, but their faces showed they knew this was hopeless. The galaxy fears us, Scarthok continued. Every species runs when they see our ships. Every world trembles when we arrive. But you, stand here with your tiny weapon and speak of stopping us. Someone has to, Jake said. Someone has to stand up to bullies like you. The word bullies seemed to confuse the Vorthic leader. It tilted its massive head. Bullies? We are hunters. We are the strongest. It is our right to take what we want. No, Jake said firmly. Strength doesn't give you the right to hurt innocent people. These scientists never did anything to you. They were just trying to learn about the universe. Learning is weakness, Scarthok said. Only the strong survive. Only the strong deserve to live. The Vorthic leader moved even closer. Jake could smell its breath, like metal and death. Its claws extended fully, each one as long as a sword. The creature towered over him, a perfect killing machine. You are brave human, Scarthok said. But bravery without power is meaningless. Show us this power you think you have. Jake's mind raced. He had no power that could match a Vorthic. His weapon was useless. His armor was basic. He was just a human explorer, not a warrior like Breakter or a genius like Dr. Foster. But he had something the Vorthic did not expect. He had spent years learning to fight in zero gravity, where every move had to be perfect. He had learned to use his opponent's size and strength against them. He had learned that sometimes the best weapon was not a gun or a sword, but surprise. You want to see what humans can do? Jake asked. Yes, Scarthok said. Show us. The Vorthic leader lunged forward with incredible speed. Its claws aimed for Jake's throat, moving so fast they were just a blur. Any normal being would have been dead in that moment. But Jake was not where the creature expected him to be. He had learned to read an opponent's body language. He had learned to see the small signs that showed where an attack would come from. The Vorthic was fast, but it was also confident. It expected Jake to stand there, and instead, Jake stepped to the side at the last second. The Vorthic's claws missed him by inches. As the creature's momentum carried it forward, Jake did something that no being in the galaxy had ever done to a Vorthic. He slapped at Dot. It was not a punch or a kick. It was a simple, open-handed slap across the side of Scarthok's head. The sound echoed through the room like a gunshot. For a moment, nothing happened. Scarthok stood there, looking confused. The other Vorthic stopped moving. The survivors stopped breathing. Then the impossible happened. Scarthok staggered backward. The most feared predator in the galaxy, the creature that had killed thousands of beings, the monster that made entire worlds tremble, took a step back and shook its head like it was dizzy. What ... Scarthok began to say, but the words never came. The Vorthic leader's legs buckled. Its massive form wavered. The red glow in its eyes flickered and went out. Scarthok the Devourer, terror of the galaxy, fell to the floor with a crash that shook the entire room. The silence that followed was complete. No one moved. No one spoke. No one could believe what they had just seen. The other two Vorthics stared at their fallen leader. For the first time in their existence, they looked uncertain. They looked afraid. Jake stared at his own hand. He had just slapped the Vorthic, and the Vorthic had fallen unconscious. How ... Dr. Rodriguez whispered. I don't know, Jake said honestly. His voice was shaking. I just slapped him. One of the other Vorthic moved toward its fallen leader. It knelt down and checked for signs of life. Scarthok was breathing, but he was completely unconscious. Impossible, the Vorthic said. No being can defeat Scarthok. He is the strongest of our kind. He has killed 1,000 warriors. But he did it, Captain Clark said, her voice full of wonder. Jake actually did it. The standing Vorthic looked at Jake with something that might have been respect. What are you, human? What power do you possess? Jake looked down at the unconscious Vorthic leader. He had no idea what had just happened. He had just acted on instinct, using a basic combat move he had learned years ago. But somehow, that simple slap had done what no weapon in the galaxy could do. I'm just a human, he said. I'm just someone who doesn't like bullies. The Vorthic seemed to consider this. Just a human, it repeated. But you have done what no being has ever done. You have defeated one of us in combat. I didn't defeat him, Jake said. I just ... I just slapped him. I don't understand it either. But even... As he spoke, Jake's mind was working. There had to be a reason why his slap had affected the Vorthic so strongly. There had to be some scientific explanation for what had just happened. And if there was an explanation, then maybe this was not just a lucky accident. Maybe this was the beginning of something much bigger. The unconscious Vorthic leader stirred. Slightly, Jake stepped back, ready to defend himself again. But he no longer felt helpless. He had learned something important today. Even the most feared predators in the galaxy could fall. Even the strongest monsters had weaknesses. And sometimes, the simplest solutions were the most effective ones. Jake Martinez had just changed the balance of power in the galaxy. He just did not know it yet. Dr. Rodriguez moved quickly toward the fallen Vorthic leader. She pulled out her medical scanner and began running it over Scarthok's unconscious body. The device beeped and flashed as it collected data. Elena, what are you doing? Jake asked. Get away from that thing. I need to understand what happened, she said, her scientist mind taking over. This shouldn't be possible. Nothing should be able to knock out a Vorthic with a simple slap. The two standing Vorthic watched her work. They could have killed her easily, but they seemed as confused as everyone else. Their leader had fallen to a human slap. Nothing in their experience had prepared them for this. The readings are incredible, Dr. Rodriguez said, studying her scanner. His entire nervous system is in chaos. It's like every nerve in his body received a massive shock at the same time. How is that possible? Captain Clark asked. I don't know yet, but look at this. She pointed to the scanner display. The Vorthic's armor isn't just protection. It's connected to their nervous system. It's like a second skin that gives them their special abilities. Jake looked at the black armor covering Scarthok's body. It did not look like normal armor. It seemed to move slightly, like it was alive. Their phasing ability, Dr. Rodriguez continued, their enhanced speed, their strength, it all comes from this armor. It's not just covering their bodies, it's part of them. And Jake asked, and it has a weakness. The armor creates a neural network that spans their entire body. It makes them incredibly powerful, but it also makes them vulnerable to specific types of shock. One of the standing Vorthic spoke. You speak of things you do not understand, soft one. Our armor is perfection. It has no weakness. But it does, Dr. Rodriguez said, showing him the scanner. Look at these readings. When Jake slapped your Leader, the impact created a specific vibration. That vibration traveled through the armor and overloaded the neural network. Jake held up his hand and stared at it. You're saying my hand did this? Not just your hand. Your bone density, your muscle structure, the way human joints work, it all combined to create the perfect frequency to disrupt their system. The implications hit Jake like a physical blow. If Dr. Rodriguez was right, then humans had a natural ability to defeat the most feared predators in the galaxy. Not with weapons or technology, but with their bare hands. This is impossible, the Vorthik said. We have hunted for thousands of years. We have faced every species in the galaxy. None have ever harmed us. Maybe none of them had the right physical structure, Dr. Rodriguez said. Jake, try to remember exactly how you hit him. The angle, the force, everything. Jake thought back to that moment. I stepped to the side when he lunged. He was moving forward, so I had to reach up to hit him. I used the palm of my hand, not a fist. The angle was crucial, Dr. Rodriguez said. You hit him at the perfect spot where the armor connects to his skull. And the force was just right, not too hard, not too soft. Scarthok began to stir. His red eyes opened slowly, and he looked around in confusion. When he saw Jake standing over him, he tried to get up quickly, but his body did not respond normally. He fell back down with a grunt. What have you done to me? He demanded. I slapped you, Jake said simply, and you fell down. Impossible. I am Scarthok the Devourer. I have never been defeated. Well, you have now, Jake said. And if you try to hurt these people again, I'll do it again. The Vorthik leader studied Jake with new eyes. It was no longer the casual confidence of a predator looking at prey. Now there was respect, and perhaps even fear. You are not what we expected, human, Scarthok said slowly. We have heard stories of your kind. We thought you were weak, like most species. We're not weak, Jake said. We're just different. Different how? Jake thought about how to explain. Humans to an alien predator. We work together. We help each other. We don't give up, even when things look hopeless. And you can defeat us with a simple strike, Scarthok added. Apparently, Jake said, but I don't want to fight you. I want to understand why you do what you do. The Vorthik leader struggled to sit up. His armor was still functioning, but not at full power. You wish to understand us? Yes, you're clearly intelligent. You have advanced technology. Why do you hunt other species? Why do you kill innocent people? Scarthok was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was different. Less threatening, more thoughtful. We hunt because we must, he said. We collect the strong because they are needed. Needed for what? You would not understand. Your species is too young, too new to the galaxy. Try me, Jake said. Scarthok looked at the other Vorthik and back at Jake. There is a threat coming. A darkness that will consume everything. We have seen it before in other galaxies. It devours worlds, erases entire civilizations. And you're collecting strong specimens to fight it, to preserve them. When the darkness comes, most will die, but some must survive. The strongest, the smartest, the most adaptable. Jake felt a chill. How long do we have? Centuries. Maybe less. The darkness moves slowly, but it never stops. Dr. Rodriguez looked up from her scanner. Jake, I'm picking up something else. The readings show that the slap didn't just knock him out. It temporarily disabled some of his armor's functions. What does that mean? It means humans might be able to do more than just knock out Vorthik. We might be able to neutralize their abilities entirely. The standing Vorthik took a step back. You cannot be serious. I am, Dr. Rodriguez said. The human physiology is uniquely suited to disrupting Vorthik neural networks. Jake's slap was just the beginning. Jake looked around the room. The survivors were watching him with hope in their eyes. His team was looking at him like he was a hero. The Vorthik were looking at him like he was a threat they had never encountered. Before, what happens now? He asked. Now, Scarthok said, struggling to his feet, we must reconsider everything. If humans can defeat us, then the balance of power in the galaxy is changed. It doesn't have to be about power, Jake said. It can be about working together. If there's really a threat coming, we should be preparing for it together, not fighting each other. Scarthok studied him for a long moment. You would work with us, even after what we have done? If it means protecting innocent people, yes, but the hunting has to stop. No more killing, no more collecting people against their will. And if we refuse? Jake held up his hand. Then I'll teach every human in the galaxy how to slap a Vorthik. For the first time, Scarthok looked genuinely concerned. The most feared predator in the galaxy had just learned that his species had a weakness. And that weakness was standing right in front of him, offering either partnership or conflict. The choice was his. 3 months later, Jake stood on the bridge of the Pioneer, watching the most impossible sight in the galaxy. A Vorthik battleship flew alongside his small exploration vessel, no longer as predator and prey, but as allies. The news of what had happened at the Kepler research station had spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The story seemed too incredible to believe. A human had defeated the most feared predator in space with a simple slap. But the evidence was undeniable, and more importantly, the Vorthik had confirmed it themselves. Commander, Lisa said from her pilot seat, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. They want to meet with you and Scarthok. Jake nodded. The Council had been in chaos since learning about humanity's unique ability. Some species wanted to declare war on the Vorthik immediately, using humans as weapons. Others wanted to hide from both humans and Vorthik, afraid of what this new alliance might mean. Tell them we'll be there, Jake said, but the meeting will be on our terms. Over the past 3 months, Jake had learned much about the Vorthik and their true purpose. Scarthok had been telling the truth about the coming darkness, a force that had already consumed 2 other galaxies. The Vorthik were not just killers, but survivors of a previous encounter with this threat. They were the only ones who escaped, Scarthok had explained during one of their many conversations. My people came from a galaxy that was completely destroyed. We fled here and tried to prepare for when the darkness would follow us. The Vorthik's method of preparation had been flawed. They believed that only the strongest could survive, so they hunted and collected the most powerful beings from each species. But they had misunderstood what strength really meant. Physical strength is not enough, Jake had told him. You need cooperation, creativity, and the will to protect others. Those are the things that make civilization strong. Now, as they approached the council meeting, Jake reflected on how much had changed. The Vorthik had stopped their hunting completely. Instead, they were sharing their technology and knowledge about the coming threat. In return, humans were teaching them about cooperation and showing them that there were other ways to be strong. Jake, Dr. Rodriguez called from her science station. She had transferred to the Pioneer to continue her research on Vorthik physiology. I've got the final test results. You need to see this. Jake walked over to her station. The screen showed complex diagrams of human and Vorthik anatomy. What did you find? It's not just you, she said excitedly. I've tested 50 other humans, and they all have the same ability. The bone density in human hands, combined with our joint flexibility and muscle coordination, creates the perfect combination to disrupt Vorthik neural networks. All humans can do this? With proper training, yes. The technique has to be precise. The right angle, the right force, the right location. But any human can learn it, Jake smiled. When the news had first broken, some people had called him a hero. Others had called him a freak. But the truth was simpler than that. He was just a human who had discovered something about his species that no one knew before. "Commander," Richter called from the weapons station. "We're approaching the council station. Scarthok wants to speak with you before the meeting." Jake made his way to the meeting room where Scarthok was waiting. The Vorthic leader looked different now. His armor was still black and imposing, but he carried himself with less arrogance. The experience of being defeated by a human slap had changed him. "Are you ready for this?" Jake asked. "I have spent my life believing that might makes right," Scarthok said. "It is difficult to change such deep beliefs. But you have shown me that there are other forms of strength." "The Council is still afraid of you," Jake said. "Some of them want to use humans as weapons against your people. And some of my people want to resume hunting," Scarthok replied. "They think I have become weak. But I have learned something important from you, Jake Martinez. True strength comes from protecting others, not from dominating them. What will you tell the Council?" "The truth, that the darkness is coming whether we fight each other or not. That we can face it together, or we can face it alone and die." The meeting with the Galactic Council was tense. Representatives from dozens of species gathered in the Great Chamber, all staring at Jake and Scarthok with mixtures of fear, hope, and confusion. "You claim that humans can defeat Vorthic," the council leader said. "Prove it." Jake had expected this. He looked at Scarthok, who nodded. "I will allow it," the Vorthic said, "but carefully. I do not wish to be unconscious for the entire meeting." Jake stepped forward and placed his hand on Scarthok's arm. Using the precise technique that Dr. Rodriguez had perfected, he delivered a controlled slap to the Vorthic's neural junction. Scarthok staggered slightly, and the lights in his armor dimmed. "His armor is now operating at 30% capacity," Dr. Rodriguez announced, reading from her scanner. "His phasing ability is disabled, and his enhanced strength is greatly reduced." The council chamber erupted in shocked whispers. No one had ever seen a Vorthic weakened before. The demonstration proved what many had thought impossible. Humans really could neutralize the galaxy's most feared predators. "Impressive," a council leader said. "But what does this mean for the rest of us?" Jake stepped forward. "It means we have a choice. We can use this ability to hunt the Vorthic like they hunted others, or we can work together to face the real threat." "The real threat?" asked a representative from the peaceful Zentari system. Scarthok spoke, his voice slightly weaker but still. "Commanding, the darkness that consumed my original home. It moves between galaxies, destroying everything in its path. It will reach here within 200 years. How do we know you're telling the truth?" demanded the representative from the warrior planet Corva. "Because," Jake said, "the Vorthic could have kept hunting. They were winning. They had no reason to stop unless the threat was real." Over the next several hours, Jake and Scarthok presented everything they knew about the coming darkness. They showed images from Vorthic records of dead galaxies, empty space where civilizations once thrived. They explained the signs that indicated the darkness was already moving toward their galaxy. "What do you propose we do?" the council leader asked finally. "We prepare together," Jake said. "The Vorthic have knowledge about this threat. Humans have the ability to neutralize Vorthic if they step out of line. Other species have their own strengths. We combine everything. And if the Vorthic betray us?" Jake looked at Scarthok, who was slowly recovering from the demonstration. "Then every human in the galaxy will know exactly how to stop them." The vote was close, but the council agreed to the alliance. Over the following months, everything changed. Vorthic technology was shared with other species. Human combat instructors began teaching the slap technique to volunteers from every world. Scientists from different planets worked together to understand the approaching threat. Jake found himself at the center of it all. He was promoted to admiral and given command of the new combined defense fleet. Ships from every species flew under his command, including Vorthic vessels that had once spread terror across the galaxy. "It's strange," he said one day to Dr. Rodriguez, as they watched a mixed crew of humans and Vorthic working together on his flagship. "A few months ago, I was just an explorer. Now I'm supposed to save the galaxy." "You already did save it," she replied. "Not from the darkness. That's still coming. But you saved it from itself. You showed everyone that enemies can become allies." "I just slapped a Vorthic," Jake said with a laugh. "You did more than that. You showed them there was another way to be strong." As Jake watched his crew work, he thought about the future. The darkness was still coming. They had less than 200 years to prepare. But for the first time in galactic history, every species was working together instead of against each other. Scarthok approached, his armor now fully functional again. "Admiral Martinez," he said formally, then smiled. "Jake, the final preparations are complete. The defense stations are ready for testing." "Good," Jake said. "And the hunting protocols?" "Completely abolished. My people understand now that true strength comes from protecting, not conquering." Jake nodded. It had been a long journey from that first slap to this moment. The most feared predators in the galaxy had become its defenders. The weakest species had revealed an unexpected power, and the galaxy had learned that sometimes the simplest solutions were the most effective. "Admiral," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving reports from the outer rim. Long-range sensors are detecting something moving between galaxies." Jake's blood went cold. "The darkness?" "Unknown, sir. But it's big, and it's heading this way." Jake looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, an ancient enemy was approaching. But this time, the galaxy would not face it alone. This time, they were ready. "All ships," he announced over the fleet. "Communications. Prepare for long-range reconnaissance. It's time to see what we're really up against." As the combined defense fleet moved out toward the edge of known space, Jake reflected on how far they had all come. It had started with one desperate slap in a damaged research station. Now it was becoming the foundation for the galaxy's survival. Dr. Rodriguez had been right. Sometimes the simplest actions really could have the most profound consequences. "Jay,"